At the very beginning of the movie, we see a terrifying situation unfold on top of a gigantic television tower that rises nearly 2,000 feet into the sky. Two young women named Becky and Hunter are stranded at the very peak of this massive structure, desperately trying to call for help. Unfortunately, because of the extreme altitude and the tower's isolated location in the middle of a vast desert, their phones show no signal at all. That means there is no way to contact anyone, and the chances of someone randomly spotting them from the ground are almost zero. As if their situation isn't already horrifying enough, vultures begin circling nearby, occasionally swooping toward them. The message is painfully clear: if either of them loses consciousness or falls asleep, they could easily slip and fall thousands of feet to their deaths. The story then shifts into a flashback that takes us back to a time when everything was completely different. Becky is seen rock climbing with her husband Dan and her adventurous best friend Hunter. The three of them appear happy and carefree, enjoying the thrill of climbing while joking and encouraging each other along the rocky cliff. However, their fun takes a tragic turn when Dan reaches into a small hole in the rock, hoping to secure a better grip. Suddenly, a bird bursts out of the hole, startling him. The surprise causes Dan to lose his balance, and he slips, leaving him dangling helplessly in the air while tangled in the safety rope. Dan desperately tries to swing his body toward the rock face to regain control, but the angle makes it nearly impossible. Becky and Hunter panic and attempt to help him stabilize himself, shouting instructions and trying to pull the rope tighter. But before they can do anything meaningful, the rope suddenly snaps. In a horrifying moment that happens far too quickly, Dan plunges down the cliff and disappears into the depths below, dying instantly from the fall. Almost a year passes after that devastating accident, and Becky is still completely broken by the loss of her husband. She spends most of her time alone, drowning her grief in alcohol and showing little interest in anything around her. Her father, James, is deeply worried about her mental state and constantly tries to encourage her to move forward with her life. However, Becky refuses to listen, trapped in the painful memories of that day. One night, her despair becomes so overwhelming that she considers ending her own life by taking an entire bottle of medication. Just as she is about to go through with it, her phone rings unexpectedly. The caller is Hunter, who she hasn't spoken to in a very long time. The following day, Hunter shows up to visit Becky and quickly reveals an unusual plan. She wants to climb an abandoned structure known as the B67 TV Tower, an enormous tower that stands nearly 2,000 feet tall. According to Hunter, completing the climb could help Becky face her fears and finally move on from the trauma she has been carrying. She describes it as a way to bring adventure back into their lives, just like the old days when they used to climb together with Dan. At first, Becky refuses, clearly not interested in anything that reminds her of climbing. But later that night, while thinking about Dan and the life they once shared, something inside her changes. By the next morning, Becky decides that maybe facing the tower could be a way to honor his memory. Soon, the two women begin their road trip toward the massive tower. During the long drive, Becky scrolls through photos on Hunter's phone and notices an image where a man's hand is resting on Hunter's shoulder. Curious, Becky asks who the man is, but Hunter quickly brushes the question aside and avoids giving a clear answer. At one point, Becky's father calls her, but she ignores the call, choosing not to explain where she's going. Later that night, they stop at a small roadside motel to rest. While eating dinner, Becky learns that Hunter has become a travel vlogger who documents dangerous adventures online. Her videos have gained attention, allowing her to travel to different places and earn money through social media. The next morning, they continue their journey, with Hunter enthusiastically recording a vlog for her viewers while driving. She talks about the tower's massive height and how climbing it will be the ultimate adrenaline experience. However, while she is focused on talking to the camera, she nearly crashes into a truck on the road, reminding Becky just how reckless Hunter can sometimes be. Eventually, they reach the tower's location, but the entrance gate is locked and marked with warning signs that clearly state the area is dangerous and off-limits. Ignoring the warnings, they leave their car behind and begin walking across the dry, deserted landscape toward the towering structure. Along the way, they notice vultures feeding on the carcass of a dead animal. Instead of being disturbed, Hunter quickly takes photos and uploads them to her social media page, where the post immediately begins receiving likes and attention. When they finally reach the base of the enormous tower, Hunter excitedly continues filming her vlog while Becky looks up at the structure in complete terror. The height of the tower reminds her of the accident that took Dan's life, and for a moment she seriously considers backing out. But Hunter encourages her to confront her fear, reminding her that she came here for a reason. They attach their climbing gear and begin ascending through a narrow ladder system located inside the tower. Almost immediately, they realize the entire structure is extremely old and poorly maintained. The metal is rusted, the ladder shakes with every movement, and several bolts appear dangerously loose. At one point, a metal bar suddenly snaps beneath Becky's foot, nearly causing her to fall. Even though the incident frightens her badly, she forces herself to keep climbing. After reaching about halfway up the tower, they stop to rest for a moment. From that height, the distant city below looks incredibly small, almost like a toy town. They drink some water, gather their strength, and continue climbing upward. Eventually, they reach around 1,800 feet, leaving only 200 feet left to reach the top. However, the remaining climb requires them to move outside the tower onto an exposed ladder that faces the open air. The powerful wind, the height, and the unstable ladder make Becky extremely nervous, and she asks Hunter if they should turn back, but Hunter insists that they've already come too far to quit now. The outside ladder proves to be even more dangerous than the one inside. Several large discs attached to the tower block their path, forcing them to climb awkwardly around the sides of the structure. Hunter manages to pass the obstacle easily and then helps Becky carefully move around it as well. As they climb higher, the wind grows stronger and the ladder begins swaying slightly. At one point, Hunter even shakes the ladder as a joke to scare Becky, which causes a bolt to pop loose and fall down the tower. Despite the growing danger, they eventually reach the very top. Standing at the highest point, they begin celebrating by taking photos and recording videos of the incredible view. But Hunter still wants something even more dramatic for her vlog. She launches her drone to capture footage from the air and then takes things even further by hanging herself off the edge of the tower while Becky controls the drone camera. After climbing back up safely, Hunter challenges Becky to do the same, claiming that facing such an extreme fear will finally free her from the trauma of Dan's death. Although Becky hesitates, she eventually grabs Hunter's hand and slowly lowers herself over the edge of the tower. While hanging thousands of feet above the ground, Hunter takes selfies of the moment before pulling Becky back up. Finally, Becky takes a small container holding Dan's ashes and releases them into the wind, saying a quiet goodbye to the man she loved. It becomes an emotional moment for both of them as the ashes scatter across the sky. Once the moment passes, they prepare to climb back down. Becky starts descending first, but suddenly the old ladder collapses beneath her. She falls for a terrifying second before Hunter manages to grab the rope and pull her back to safety. The two of them laugh nervously from the adrenaline rush, but their laughter quickly fades when they realize something horrifying. The ladder they were supposed to use for the descent has completely broken away and fallen to the ground far below. Now stranded at the very top of the 2,000-foot tower with no way down, they check their phones again, only to discover there is still no signal. Even worse, their backpack containing water and supplies has fallen onto a lower platform out of reach. The only things they still have with them are a pair of binoculars and a flare gun. Becky begins to panic, realizing how hopeless their situation looks. But Hunter tries to calm her down, suggesting that the loud sound of the ladder collapsing might have alerted someone nearby. All they can do now is wait and hope that someone eventually comes looking for them. As Becky continues staring at the tattoo on Hunter's foot, she suddenly remembers something important about Dan. During their relationship, Dan used to say that the number 143 was a secret code meaning, "I love you," because the numbers represent the number of letters in each word. Realizing that Hunter has the same tattoo instantly creates a strange feeling in Becky's mind. But before she can question it further, another opportunity for rescue appears. Down at the base of the tower, Hunter notices a man walking with his dog. Seeing someone nearby fills the girls with hope, and they immediately begin screaming at the top of their lungs while waving their arms wildly, desperately trying to catch his attention. Unfortunately, the tower is so tall that their voices barely travel downward, and the man continues walking without noticing them at all. Just as the man begins leaving the area, Becky quickly throws both of their shoes down from the tower in a desperate attempt to attract his attention. She hopes the objects falling from above might make him look up, but even that doesn't work, and the man simply continues walking away without ever noticing them. Feeling increasingly desperate, Becky reaches for the flare gun, thinking it might be their last chance to signal for help. However, Hunter stops her immediately, explaining that firing a flare during the daytime would be useless because the bright sky would make it almost impossible for anyone to see it. A little later, they spot another group of men arriving in the area. It looks like they are gathering nearby for some kind of outdoor party. Realizing that people will still be around once the sun goes down, the girls decide to wait until nighttime, when the flare will be much more visible. Hours slowly pass until darkness finally falls across the desert. Once the sky is completely dark, Becky fires the flare gun high into the air. The bright red light bursts across the night sky like a signal of hope. Down below, the men immediately notice the flare. They also see the girls waving their arms from the top of the tower. For a brief moment, Becky and Hunter feel overwhelming relief, convinced that rescue has finally arrived. Excited and full of hope, they watch as the men walk toward Hunter's parked car. But instead of attempting to help the stranded climbers, the men break into the car, start the engine, and simply drive away with it. The realization hits the girls like a punch to the stomach. The people they thought were their rescuers have just stolen their car and abandoned them in the middle of nowhere. The emotional impact of that betrayal crushes their last bit of optimism, leaving them feeling more hopeless than ever before. Sometime later, Becky finally confronts Hunter about the 143 tattoo she noticed earlier. After hesitating for a moment, Hunter finally confesses the truth. She admits that for 6 months she secretly had an affair with Dan while he was still with Becky. Hunter apologizes deeply, explaining that the relationship was a terrible mistake. She says that Dan was different from other men because he actually listened to her and understood her. She admits that she did fall in love with him, but she insists that she loved Becky even more, which is why she eventually ended the affair. Hearing this confession completely shatters Becky. Not only did she lose her husband in a tragic accident, but now she learns that both her husband and her best friend had betrayed her behind her back. The next morning, Becky's phone alarm suddenly goes off, reminding them that it has been 24 hours since they threw Hunter's phone from the tower. By now, they are extremely dehydrated, and the lack of water is becoming a serious threat to their survival. Hunter decides to risk everything in order to retrieve their backpack, which is still sitting on the metal platform disc below them. She ties one end of the rope securely to the tower and the other end around her own body before slowly lowering herself down toward the disc. Even after descending as far as the rope allows, she still cannot quite reach the platform. With no other options left, Hunter unclips her harness and holds onto the rope with one hand while swinging her body toward the disc. The risky move works, and she manages to land on the platform where the backpack is sitting. Relieved, she grabs the bag and immediately drinks some water. Then she uses her selfie stick to hook the bag onto the rope so Becky can pull it back up. As Becky begins pulling the rope, Hunter starts climbing back toward the top of the tower. But just as she is about to reach safety, her grip suddenly slips. For a terrifying moment, Becky thinks Hunter has fallen to her death. When Becky looks down again, she feels a brief wave of relief after spotting Hunter still hanging onto the bag. Unfortunately, Hunter's hand is badly injured, making it difficult for her to climb. Becky gathers every bit of strength she has left and pulls the rope upward until Hunter finally reaches the top again. Still searching for another solution, Becky writes a message asking for help and attaches it to their drone. The plan is to fly the drone toward the nearby motel where someone might see the note. However, as soon as the drone begins flying, they realize its battery is almost dead. It doesn't have enough power to reach the motel, forcing them to bring it back. Another plan has failed. Later that night, Becky falls asleep and experiences a horrifying nightmare where vultures are tearing apart Hunter's body. She wakes up suddenly in panic, realizing it was only a dream. The following morning, Becky comes up with a new idea. She notices that the tower has large lights at the top, and she believes the power source might be able to charge their drone. Climbing carefully up a metal pole, she connects the drone charger to the tower lights, but the connection is loose, which means Becky must physically hold the charger in place while the drone charges. Under the scorching desert sun and with vultures constantly circling nearby, Becky struggles to hold the connection steady. During the process, she accidentally drops drops their backpack, sending it falling all the way to the ground below. After a long and exhausting wait, the drone finally finishes charging. Becky launches it again and sends it flying toward the motel. For a moment, it looks like their plan might actually succeed. But just before reaching its destination, a passing truck suddenly collides with the drone, destroying it instantly. Watching the drone crash completely shatters their remaining hope. Soon after, a violent storm begins to form, making their situation even more dangerous. Becky becomes extremely tired and wants to fall asleep, but Hunter refuses to let her rest because the vultures could attack if she loses consciousness. Becky then asks Hunter for her shoe so they can try throwing her phone down again, but Hunter strangely claims she cannot give it to her because the shoe is still on her foot down on the platform below. At that moment, the shocking truth is revealed. When Hunter slipped earlier while climbing back up, she never actually survived the fall. Her body landed on the platform disc below, and she died there instantly. The person Becky has been talking to ever since was only a hallucination created by her exhausted and traumatized mind. In reality, Becky has been completely alone on the tower this entire time. That night, Becky barely manages to survive the violent storm. Realizing that she might not make it out alive, she records a heartfelt video message for her father, apologizing for everything and expressing her wish to see him again. Meanwhile, far away, James begins to feel increasingly worried about his daughter. The next day, one of the vultures finally attacks Becky, pecking at the wounds on her body. In a desperate act of survival, Becky grabs the bird and slams its head repeatedly against the metal tower until it dies. With no other source of food available, she forces herself to eat the vulture's flesh just to regain some strength. After recovering a little energy, Becky ties the rope around her body and jumps down to the platform where Hunter's lifeless body lies. Using her last remaining strength, she types a final message to her father and places her phone inside Hunter's shoe. To protect the phone from breaking, she hides the shoe inside Hunter's body before throwing it down toward the ground. Later that night, James finally receives the message. Realizing his daughter is in danger, he immediately calls 911 and rushes toward the tower. When he arrives, he sees police officers carrying a body bag away from the area. For a horrifying moment, he believes the body belongs to Becky, and he breaks down in grief. But seconds later, he looks up and sees Becky alive. Rescuers have finally saved her. The emotional reunion between father and daughter becomes the final moment of the story, bringing the terrifying ordeal to an end.